We have to be very careful to try and make sure we don't come to any anger whatsoever in general, but particularly not on Erev Pesach. A few introductions to the Seder. The Seder, we commemorate our Klal Yisrael following the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and we're willing to shech the deity of the Egyptians. We have to be so careful to avoid Avodah Zorah at any cost. You're thinking to yourself, to avoid Avodah Zorah, like I have little Avodah Zorahs in my house, what sort of Avodah Zorah is he talking about? The Sfarim HaKadoshim say that there's a special Yetzer Hara on Erev Pesach that we should get angry. And Kol HaKoyes Ki'ilu Oved Avodah Zorah. Anyone who gets angry, it's like they're worshipping idols. So that's the first halacha. We have to be very careful to try and make sure we don't come to any anger whatsoever in general, but particularly not on Erev Pesach. Another introduction, a very, very important Pesach halacha that men don't always remember. The Rambam says in Hilchas Shvisas Yom Tov Perek Vav, halacha Yud Ches, V'hanoshim kaina lehem begodim v'tachshitim noim kafim amoinoi. The Rambam says part of Simchas Yom Tov is to buy begodim, clothes, v'tachshitim noim, and nice jewelry. Now we could say maybe the vav doesn't mean and nice jewelry, maybe or nice jewelry. But l'chol hapachas kafim amoinoi, the ladies work so hard. We have to make sure they have Simchas Yom Tov. So this is another important halacha to remember. Another one, the Rambam says over here, when we're eating and drinking, that we shouldn't just be sitting and eating and rejoicing with the family, Baruch Hashem. We should be thinking about others who are less fortunate. The ger, the yosim, the almonot, together with aniyim, and ein oni elo badas as well. It's a very special thing to have people over for Seder night who don't know so much about Yiddishkeit. People who haven't had the sort of upbringing and don't know the sort of halachas that we know and the sort of insights we know, and to try and bring people over to the Seder, particularly particularly on Seder night, more so than any other time. We have to be careful that if there are people at the Seder who are not from, that we should make sure that the wine is mavushal. And that will come up later as well. Even in the charoises, when we have wine in the charoises, we should make sure that it's going to be mavushal if there are people there who are not yet Shomrei Torah mitzvahs. Another halacha, the Sfarim bring that just like we bench the children every Friday night, so too there's a minhag to bless the children on Seder night, even if it's not Friday night, all the more so this year, because Seder night was the night that Yaakov got the brachas from Yitzchak. So it's a very auspicious night to be able to pass on these brachas, to pass on the baton, to pass on the torch to the next dayre. Seder night we have really 5 halachas. There are 2 which are d'oraisa, and there are 3 which are midrabanan. What are the 2 mitzvahs which are d'oraisa? Matzah. There's a mitzvah by Erev Teichlu Matzah, is to eat matzah on Seder night. And what's the other one which is d'oraisa? Sif Yitzias Mitzrayim. To relate the story of Yitzias Mitzrayim. In actual fact, there's a 3rd mitzvah which is d'oraisa on Seder night. Can anyone think which is the 3rd mitzvah which is d'oraisa? Shema. Huh? Oh, actually there are a few over here, and I'm thinking about it now. But how am I saying Shema? Shema is a mitzvah d'oraisa as well. Kiddush, even though Kiddush, the 4 kaises are normally d'Rabbanan, the first kais, particularly, the first kais some say is anyway d'oraisa, but everybody agrees if the first night of Seder is Friday night, then l'chol hadeus, the first one of the Arba kaisais, is a mitzvahs aseh min ha-Torah. There is one other d'oraisa, which is Birchas HaMazon. Birchas HaMazon, we matzah, we once a year, we get so excited. Birchas HaMazon is also a d'oraisa when it comes to Seder night. So let's start with the first one of these mitzvahs, Saseh min ha-Torah, the mitzvah of matzah. It goes without saying, we have to have shmura matzah for Seder. Some are mahader to have shmura matzah the whole way through Pesach. But me'ikar adin, you only need to have shmura matzah on Seder night, whether you use the frisbee ones or whether you use the square ones, as long as it's shmura, that's okay. There are different days over here. Now we know that we're supposed to use complete matzahs. We're supposed to use shleimim. This is another nisoyan for us on Seder night, not to get angry with those matzah manufacturers. We've had to take out a mortgage to buy this box of matzahs, and you open it up, and it's full of little shtikalach. It looks like your children have been jumping up and down on this box. You've been careful the whole way through. You put it in the car so lovingly on the way back home from the person you bought it from. Your mum is so careful. There should be no vibrations of this box. You open it up. It looks like someone's been jumping up and down on it. And you're just so angry. Try very, very careful. There should be no ka'as. The halacha is that to be shleimim, for it to be complete, is l'chatchila. If they're not sholem, one's also makayim the mitzvah. Moreover, the Aruch HaShulchan and Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa say that if there's a little bit missing in the matzah, it's still considered sholem, as long as it looks sholem. If you pick it up and the person at the other end of the table sees that what looks like a sholem matzah, even if you know it's got a little bit missing on the corner, so these poskim say that it is still considered sholem. What if it's a matzah which is cracked? It's in one piece, but it's cracked. So the Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Kuf Samach Zayin Sif Aleph that when we make bracha of hamoitzi on lechem on Shabbos, there's a halacha. We're supposed to put our knife in the challah, and we make a little indentation in this challah. And the halacha is that as long as when you pick up the small piece, the larger piece comes with it, it's still considered sholem. And the poskim say that the same thing applies when we have our matzahs on Seder night. Even if it has a crack, as long as when we pick up the small part, the larger part comes together with it and doesn't just fall off, then that is still la halacha, l'chol hadeyos, considered sholem. How much matzah are we supposed to eat? I'm sure this was all discussed in the various different shuls. So we know there's a machlekes Reb Chaim Noah and the Chazon Ish. How large is a kazayis? And so the Machmir Shitta say a kazayis is 25 grams of matzah. How much is 25 grams of matzah? Your standard frisbee matzah is between 50 grams and 80 grams of matzah, which means that in order to have a kazayis lachatchila l'choladeus, that means you should be having a third to a half of one of these frisbee matzahs. If you have a third to a half, you've certainly been makayim the mitzvah. If you have newly observant at the table, or you have elderly people, don't shove matzah down their throat thinking they have to have a third. They've been through enough in their lives, Rabbi Isai. Leave them alone. Even if they just have a small nibble, they have been yotzi, at least according to some deus. Even if you have the size of a kazayis, mamish, a small olive, we don't normally paskin like that. But a person should know that this can be relied upon if a person is ill, if they're newly observant, they're going to be completely freaked out and never come back if you start just shoving matzah down their throat. But this is lachatchila, 25 grams of matzah is the kazayis. Now the first time we have matzah, we're eating matzah min ha-Torah. The moitzi matzah is min ha-Torah. The second time we have matzah kairech, that is the rabbanon, sofik the rabbanon, lekula. It's enough to have the smaller share, which is 15 grams of matzah. And the third time we have matzah is at the afikomen. The chatchila we're supposed to have 2 kazaysim at the afikomen. So ideally, and that's also the rabbanon, ideally 30 grams of matzah. Ideally to have it within 2 minutes. That's quite a tall order. 2 minutes from the time that you swallow. Rishleim Zalman Auerbach Zatzal says, it shouldn't look like your mamish meshuga, achila gasa. You come from mamish, you've just come out of prison or something. But if you... We just came out of prison. Yeah, we just came out of prison. If it's difficult and it's dry, it's so dry, and your mouth is dry, and you're eating this cardboard, and you don't know what's going to be, so the halacha is you are allowed to drink water in order to help it down. Sipri Yitzias Mitzrayim, the other doraisa, the halacha is that we don't lane it, we don't daven it. It's a Sipri Yitzias Mitzrayim, we're giving over the story. And now the halacha is that people have to understand what is going on at Seder night. Now even if they don't understand every single word in the Haggadah, that's okay. The ikka things that people have to understand is the ikka thing is from the time when we say Rabbi Gamliel, all the way until we drink the second cup. That is the ikka part of the Haggadah. This has to be explained, what exactly is going on over here, what it was like in Mitzrayim, Hakara Satoiv, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how he took us out of Mitzrayim with the Nisim, and we have to speak about the Makkos. So from Rabbi Gamliel till the second cup, and also speaking about the Makkos. This is also very negeya if women have to leave the Seder because there are are children crying, or v'chadaymer, so they have to know, women have to do all of the mitzvahs of the Seder, like the Arba Koisais, like the Matzah, like the Morar, but in terms of actually saying the Haggadah, even if they don't say the whole Haggadah, as long as they've done those two core bits from Rabbi Gamliel Hoya Omer until the second cup, and also the Eser Makkos, then they've been yotzi the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. Is Seder night a time for complex divrei Torah? Is it a time to say intricate divrei Torah? It's poshut. You look anywhere, you look at the Seder nights of all the Gedolei Yisrael, this was not the time for them to show off their complex and intricate divrei Torah. Every single meal of Pesach, we're supposed to be saying Torah's divrei Torah. Every single meal in general, we're supposed to be saying divrei Torah. We don't have to mamish let loose. We've been preparing for weeks. Just open up and give all of these intricate divrei Torah, and the shviga is half asleep, and the children are completely asleep. This is not the time for all of these complex, intricate divrei Torah. It's a time to understand the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. We have to explain some of the Medrashim. We have to explain what it was like, how we got there, what it was like in Mitzrayim, how terrible it was, how we cried out to Hashem, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us. This is what's important. The complex and intricate ones we should save for another time. L'chatchila, ideally we have the Afikomen before Chatzos, which this year is 12:59. If a person was late, so then they can still do it afterwards as well. We know there are there's a Tanai that can be made, but even if a person hasn't made the Tanai, it still can be eaten afterwards. Let's move on to the mitzvahs midrabanon. The first one is the mitzvah of the Arba Koisais. How large does our kois have to be? So again, there's a machlaikas. The Chazon Ish says 150 milliliters. Reb Chaim Noah says 86 milliliters. Can I just trouble you? Could you mind passing me that small cup? Thank you very much. Your standard, just for people to get an idea, a standard plastic cup is 180 milliliters. This one actually says 200 milliliters at the bottom. You have different sizes. This is 200 milliliters, this plastic cup. So to get an inkling, if your kais contains half of the amount that this contains, then you have a kais which you can be which is according to Reb Chaim Noah, the great Reb Chaim Noah, and that's how big your kais has to be. Sofek d'Rabbanon l'kula, because the mitzvah Arba Kaises is a mitzvah midrabanon, therefore it's okay to use the smaller share unless you have a minhag, or unless you have a chumrah to use the larger share. As I mentioned before, because the first kais is min ha-Torah, there are many who for the first kais actually would be makpid to use a chazan eshir, to use a larger kais, but that even that if a person has a smaller kais, that is also acceptable. Is a person allowed to drink in between the first and second cup? There's a long time in between the first and second cup. Are you allowed to drink? So you're not allowed to drink wine or grape juice. It looks like you're being moisif al hakaisis, so you're adding extra to the 4. But the halacha is you aren't actually allowed to drink water or soft drinks in between the first kais and the second kais. The halacha is that really you should have this in mind when you make your first Brei Pri Hagofen on Kiddush, that this also covers any drinks that you're going to be having now. And then the bracha of Brei Pri Hagofen covers that drink. You do not need to make a shahakal on that drink. Just like Hamoitzi covers foods, Brei Pri Hagofen also covers drinks, and therefore you do not make a shahakal. You can have drinks in between the first kais and the second kais. You should either have it in mind when you're making the Brei Pri Hagofen in the beginning, or it's enough if you have them on the table when you make your first Brei Pri Hagofen, then that is acceptable. A girl asked me, why is it that my father is asleep every year at the end of Seder? For the end of Seder, we miss out the whole end of Seder. Rabbi say, even though there's a person really should be having something which is slightly intoxicating, wine is much better la halacha than grape juice. But if you know you're going to be under the table at the end, then you may be yotze of the first cup, but you haven't been yotze of the Arba Kaises. So you have to make sure you pace yourself. If the wine is going to do it to you, they don't have wine. La halacha, as long as it tastes winey, it has a halacha of wine. So if you use grape juice with a little bit of wine mixed in it, and it still tastes like wine, then la halacha, you've drunk wine for Dalet Kaisus. If a person's allergic to wine, they could even have just completely grape juice. In many families, the women, it's not the derech to drink intoxicating beverages, one would hope. So they, l'chatchila, according to many paiskim, have grape juice the whole way through. A girl said to me, why is it my brothers are always shikah at the end of Seder? It's taka, very good question. Parents should be careful, what are the children eating, drinking? Moror, When it comes to moror, normally on Seder night, technically one could grate the moror. There are some who like to grate the moror actually on Seder night in order that it's very strong. They grate with a shinoi. Lamaisa nowadays, it's much better to grate the moror before Seder night, particularly this year, because it's completely awesome to grate this moror, even with a shinoi, on Shabbos Kodesh. So therefore, the moror should be grated for those that use horseradish before Yom Tov begins. The halacha, somebody asked me when they say moror zu, are they allowed to point at the shviga? Definitely not. It's completely forbidden to do such a thing, and a person must make sure they avoid such a thing. How large should the moror be? A kazayas of moror should be 20 centimeters times 15 centimeters. That's 20 centimeters times 15 centimeters to be able to kazayas of moror. A person should check the moror for toiloim, for bugs, before Seder night. If a person hasn't checked it for bugs, then there is a way of doing it on Seder night as well. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go into it right now, but they should do this before Seder night. So to before Seder night, make your salt water, making salt water. There's a shaila of ma'abed, of tanning. They use salt, making salty water is a shaila of ma'abed. We should make the salt water before Yom Tov. If we didn't, we forgot, then you can make the salt water with a shuli, make a very weak salt water without much salt in, the water first and then the salt. But you should make this, of course, together with the charoises all before Yom Tov comes in. And charoises is the last mitzvah of the Rabbanon. We've got dalet kaises, we've got moror, and we've got charoises. As we said beforehand, make sure it's from mavushal wine if there'll be people at the Seder who are not yet shomrei Torah mitzvahs. Another point, when it comes to Seder, the halacha is we're supposed to be leaning to the left. When do we lean to the left? We do it for the 4 cups of wine, every time we eat matzah, and ideally, if possible, throughout the meal, if that's possible. Now, how does a person lean to the left? If you're just sitting on your chair and you're just leaning to the side, we don't call that looking regal. We call it looking really, really weird. Oh, these non-from people are definitely going to think that they're definitely going to come back for more after they see you just leaning like this. Yeah, it's crazy. Look, Meshuggah, if you lean on your knee, you look like you're very worried. You've got anxiety problems. There are people we can, So basically, the way you're supposed to lean to the left is either if you have a chair with an armrest, fantastic. If you don't have a chair with an armrest, you can lean to angle your chair and you can recline on the table if that's reclining to the left. You can recline on the back of the chair of the person sitting next to you if that is appropriate. Yeah? The non-from person is going to so be very, very careful over there. And the other classic way that a person could lean to the left, a very nifty tip, is turn your chair 90 degrees. And then the back of your chair is towards your left, and then you just lean on the back of your chair, which is towards your left, and everybody's leaning towards the left, and that is the best way to do. Mitzvahs trichas kavana. The halacha is that whenever you perform a mitzvah, you should have in mind, I'm about to perform a mitzvah min ha-Torah. I'm about to perform a mitzvah midrabanon. If you haven't, you're still yotzi. But mitzvah trichas kavana. There's a shaila with certain ones on Seder night whether you are yotzi. Before you do any of the mitzvahs, you should say to the people at the table, we are about to perform the mitzvah min ha-Torah. We're about to perform the mitzvah midrabanon, and explain it to everybody. One final point. What do you do with the kais shel Eliyahu? Eliyahu Anovi Zochol HaToiv, the Mavasa, the Geula. We've all been waiting for so long. We're yearning for him to come. We have our kais yain on the table. Keneged, this last posuk of Geula, this last expression of Geula. So the minhag is that when you finish the Seder night, the minhag is either to leave it covered on the table and then to use it for Kiddush the next day, or to pour it back in the bottle and use for Kiddush the next day. The halacha is you shouldn't make Kiddush on it if it was left uncovered overnight. Yain Megulim, we're very makbid that you shouldn't make Kiddush. But Ezras Hashem, this should be the last year when we have Seder nights in Golos, and we should be Zoyecha, Arachim Yishlach Lanu Eliyahu Anovi, and he should send us Besuras Tovas Yeshuas V'Nachomos.